Hey guys, welcome back to the Kraken Lair podcast. I'm your host, Humberto Gonzalez. I got two special guests for today's show from Downers Grove North High School, Ethan Park and Jack Richtman, the 2022 Season 2 ICASSTT Clash Champions. Again, if you like this content, please like, subscribe, and ring that notification button. This guy is repping his Angler Assets hoodie.
Yeah, I got my HDS rods one on.
Look at you guys, just shout outs. Yeah. Shameless plugs. I love it. Ready? We ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right, let's do it. All right, guys, welcome back to the Kraken Lair podcast. I still don't know. Should we call it Kraken Lair or is it just the Lair? I don't know. You guys tell me. What do you think, Ethan? Kraken Lair or just the Lair?
I kind of like Kraken Lair.
I like it too. I don't know why. What about you, Jack?
Yeah, I'm feeling Kraken Lair as well.
Yeah, I like it. Okay. All right. Awesome. We'll keep it to that. So welcome back to the Kraken Lair podcast. I got a special guest today. We have Ethan Park and Jack Richtman, the Clash Champions from last year. This is a unique conversation that I want to have. I'm interested because I didn't really get to talk to these guys after they won. It was very hectic at the end of the day 2 tournament. We'll talk about that. It was super crazy. We still get inside jokes. Well, I still get inside jokes for not knowing how to do math, but even though the scale was about 50 yards away from me, so I couldn't even see what the actual scale numbers were for the previous, but we'll get to that. So I just want to do a quick update on Ethan and Jack. Ethan is a junior at Downers Grove North High School. Jack is a sophomore at Downers Grove North High School. Go through a little resume of what I have, and if I missed anything, obviously, Ethan, you will jump in and let me know, or Jack, you'll let me know. So right now I have Ethan Park, junior in high school at Downers Grove North. They fished ICASSTT last year together. Ethan fished one event, I think, in our first season at Heideke Lake. And I have their finishes. They had 2 really good tournaments. Obviously, the Clash, we'll talk about that later. That was the best tournament, but they had 2 other good tournaments that they had. They had a 5th place finish at Shabana that hot summer day where they took 5th out of 23, and they took, I believe, 2nd at Fox Chain. But I think, Jack, you fished by yourself. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I fished solo, yeah.
Yeah, you fished by yourself. I know Ethan was still labeled as your partner because we kind of have a little loophole so that you can still collect points as partners. So they did well. They punched their ticket into the tournament, and then everything kind of fell into place for that. That was super great for them. And I did look at some IHSA results, and I see that you guys took 3rd place together last year at sectionals. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I saw that Ethan, in 2021, you were the alternate at sectionals.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, correct. So cool. So at Bussy Woods South, if you don't know Bussy Woods, so I don't know how to explain it, because that body of water, that fishing style, is not really like tournament fishing. If you're like really into tournament fishing, Ethan, I'll give you the mic first. So what do you explain Bussy Woods for us if someone had no idea what the heck they were getting into?
I mean, to put it in simplest terms, Bussy Woods is kind of like a glorified version of pond fishing, you know, with just like all these big boats and stuff for sectionals, obviously. But I mean, it's a big circle. The only thing that separates it is kind of like this island in the middle. But I mean, yeah, it's basically just glorified pond fishing. I don't think it gets deeper than like 6 feet.
To me, it's insane that we have a body of water like that as a big tournament site. That's a different story. I don't want to get into it, but yeah, I mean, it's a glorified pond. That's essentially, you're in a glorified pond in a boat, in a tournament boat, and you're just using your trolling motor, right? You're just using the trolling motor. Just save the batteries and just get going. So yeah, that's their little resume for what they did last year. And this is a young team, so what they did in just that short amount of time of those events, they got themselves into the tournament and just exploded from there onto the Springfield Clash Championship. I have notes here. So you guys were boat number 4 out of 66 boats on day 1. So you didn't have the first advantage, second, third. I mean, so 4 is a really good number. But what people don't realize, on the second day, it's reverse. So you were boat 63 on day 2. So it's not like you got to go to that very first spot that you probably went, or wherever you had that success, because I guarantee you, just like all tournament fishing anglers, if they saw you on the body of water and they saw what your weigh-ins were on day 1, they tend to flock to your spots. You know, they tend to go steal your spots. And it's not really stealing. Stealing's not the right word. It's tournament fishing. It's a strategy. It's first come, first serve. You get there, that's your spot, you get to fish. So on day 1, you guys finished with 16 pounds, 2 ounces, which puts you at second place. Argento Oriana, who had 18 pounds, 7 ounces. They had a phenomenal first day. They were boat number 1. They had a phenomenal second day as well, too. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then your big bass on day 1 was 4 pounds, 12 ounces. Who caught that one?
That was me.
Ethan.
Yeah.
All right. And throughout the entire interview, if you don't really want to share certain things, because I know how fishing kids are, you don't have to. You can just say, yeah, we caught him, you know. But if you want to share what kind of technique, or what did you catch the 4 pound, 12 ounce bass on?
I mean, I guess to put it in simple terms, we were fishing this little, I wouldn't say it was a well-known area, but it wasn't like a secret area. So it was like kind of out there. If you saw us, you probably saw us throwing this certain lure, but we kind of had a pattern going, and that fish was actually very random. Like throughout the rest of the day, I don't think we got a big bite like that. It was just a very random fish that we were lucky to stumble upon.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to share your secrets, because, you know, our clash is again at Springfield, and, you know,
Yeah.
kids are going to do what they're doing. I'm sure you guys did your homework really well, and prepared yourself so that you can kind of do what you need to do. And I mean, all kids do what they need to do for tournaments. So that day 1, you guys put yourself in a really good position. Just before we get to the questions, Jack, how great did you feel going into day 2, thinking, you know, we got this, or I think we could do this? Or was it just, I don't know if we can replicate this? We're both 63. How are we going to do this? Or what were you feeling?
Yeah, coming into day 2, I was a little bit skeptical. I mean, I still thought we had a good chance. And I mean, our main goal was to get top 7. So we were trying to get first, but like at the end of the day, we were just trying to get top 7. So yeah, we got out there, and like, because we were boat 63, we took a peek at our spot, and there's like 2 or 3 boats on it already. And we're like, oh shoot, now what do we do now? So we went around, found some other spots, and then eventually looped back around, and all the boats were gone. So we were able to get back to our spot that we caught the fish on day 1, and then caught them there day 2 again, which was very fortunate for us. So
Yeah, and so kind of going into your day 2, you guys finished with 13 pounds even, and you caught big bass, which is the biggest bass of the day. I don't know if you guys knew that, but 4 pound, 5 ounce on day 2, that was the biggest bass for that day. Did you catch it at that spot, and who caught it?
So I ended up catching that one, and it was not at the same spot as day 1. It was the same technique, but it was at a different spot, and it was in the last like hour and a half. So it was a big call for that was the fish that pushed it over for us.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't have the total weights, but I feel, you had 29 pounds, 7 ounces, 29.2 or something like that. And second place had 28.7. So that 4 pound definitely won that tournament for you then, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's good that, day one, Ethan kind of put in that the big bass into the bag, and day two, it makes that dynamic partnership really feel like you need one another to succeed. And it's not just one person doing all the work. I know you probably can elaborate on how much easier it is to just depend on one person opposed to depending on the team to do really well, because I think when the team does well, everybody does well. The boater does well, the boater communication, kind of just giving you encouragement or whatever they do. And these two had a phenomenal boater. I just want to give a shout out to Randy Dunlap, super cool guy. I'm sure these guys will kind of shamelessly plug his name in there again, but Randy Dunlap, no relation to these two guys, and goes out, takes a whole weekend with them and takes them on this amazing weekend, and they end up winning the tournament, which is super great. So that's the Clash. That was, I mean, what a tournament. Now, the crazy thing that happened, you guys weighed in day two and you already knew your standings, right? You were in the hot seat, you were in first place, and then here comes Argenta Oriana. And then somebody said, I asked those guys, hey, what do they need? What do you guys need to win? And I think they said 2 pounds, or 2 pounds, 2 ounces. And again, I couldn't see what the scale was on the TV. I couldn't see what the standings were on the TV, because I'm just weighing in the fish. And if I would have saw the TV, I would have known that they needed whatever they needed. And, they put the fish in the scale, and then it just erupted. It was kind of like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And then someone said, wait. I was like, oh no, this can't be. It's kind of like that one scenario where Steve Harvey did the whole Miss America thing or whatever, Miss Universe, and he goes, wait, you know what? You didn't win. Actually, this team won. So I'm glad we sorted out. And you know what? Those two kids, they were super great about it. They were good sports. They, they didn't really complain, and they knew, a simple math mistake happened. And I will tell you this, I have learned from this experience that before I weigh in these last fish, I'm going to have something written down on the table, either in dry erase, whatever, permanent marker. I'll put on my forearm so that I know exactly what these guys need to get to win the tournament. All right, let's get to our 8 questions, right? I mean, enough talking, but let's get to this. All right, so question number 1. We kind of already talked about it a little bit, but I want to know individually what it meant to these individuals on their own. So Ethan, we'll start with you, because I like to go in alphabetical order, so this way we're not clashing. What was it like winning the Clash Championship, Ethan?
I mean, so winning the Clash was very unexpected for us, especially since we were going against teams like, the well-known teams like Manuka and Hunter Petrovic. I guess like Carl Sandberg, obviously you have Shimon, All-State Bass Angler. You had, we were going against some of those very, very well-known anglers and very, very established anglers. So knowing we weren't viewed as like a winning material really made us grind and, put our heads down. It was a really cool experience to know that we could accomplish that. And it was a lot of teamwork, as you said. Me, Mr. Dunlap, and Jack all kind of put our heads together nights before and even during to, kind of devise a plan, devise a technique, spots where we were going to go. It was probably one of the coolest moments of my life. It was just a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's winning a championship, right? I mean, it's hard. I mean, as an athlete, a former athlete, not an athlete anymore, but I'm pretty athletic still. As a former athlete, winning anything is unbelievable, and to me, winning an event is different. This was the championship. This was like what all those events kind of were for. And to win this 2-day tournament, it wasn't a 1-day lucky thing. It was a 2-day, 16 pounds, 2 ounces a day one, 13 pounds on day 2, super consistent. And just to go out there and kind of like how you said, you felt like you were the, quote unquote underdogs. And I think I have a question on there we'll talk about that. But yeah, I think that thanks for answering that. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, Jack, what was it like winning the Clash Championship?
Yeah, it was definitely the highlight of last year's season and my personal like biggest accomplishment yet so far in my fishing career. Yeah, it was unexpected, really. Like I said earlier, we were just trying to get top 7 and go to nationals. Like that was our goal from the beginning of the season. We're like, oh yeah, we got to make it to state and then place that top 7 so we can go down to Lake Hartwell. And we get to Lake Springfield. It's both of our first times ever fishing this lake.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was our fishing this lake. So we had like 3 hours of practice the day before, and we tried some stuff that we're good at and like our techniques we like. They didn't really work out. And then we realized everyone's going to be flipping docks and doing all the same stuff up shallow. So we like backed up a little bit and we were a little bit more offshore, which definitely that's what helped us win the tournament overall. So yeah, it was a great experience and definitely a tournament I'll always remember.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, and we could probably go back in the exact same weekend and you could do the exact same thing that you two did, and it probably won't even work out, right? The bass might be pushed in more, or they might be pushed out further. So this is the one thing about bass fishing, that if you don't bass fish tournament wise, you don't know what you're missing. It is literally a chess match the entire time on the boat, and your opponent is those 5 green fish that you're trying to catch. Yeah, we have 55 other boats, 60 boats, 70 other boats. You're not competing against them. You're competing against 5 bites, 5 keeper bites. And that's what people need to realize. Like, you're competing against those fish. And yeah, so, I mean, kudos to you guys. I didn't know you guys never fished Lake Springfield. That's amazing. So congratulations on that part. I mean, something brand new to the channel on that one. How about that? So good job. All right, so going into the second question, you may not know this. We kind of alluded to a little bit, but Ethan alluded to a little bit. You were kind of like the quote unquote no-name team, the underdog. Who are these kids? I knew you guys because I'm super crazy on the social media and follow all the kids and like your fishing stuff, because most kids, will post things and, share things. So I didn't see you guys as a super unknown team, but like Ethan said, you were fishing against some phenomenal athletes and some great duos. You mentioned Hunter from Manuka. That kid is one heck of an angler, and there's some other kids that, I mean, there's the list goes on and on. So to give you guys the credit that you guys deserve, you definitely put yourself out there that you two are also a very dynamic team, and you just might not fish as many events as these other schools, and that's not essentially your fault. It's just scheduling problems, right? It happens. So don't sell yourself short, but like going into it knowing, who are these kids? What was that like, Ethan, for you to think like, I'm this, we're this underdog team, and we don't know, no one knows us, but yet we just won this.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy because like Jack and I touched on, this is like the biggest, it's like the highlight of our career because it was the biggest tournament we've ever fished. Like, the qualifiers and all that, they're kind of just like local tournament, 1-day tournaments. This was a 2-day deal. You got guys from all over the state. You guys got from Southern Illinois, Northern Illinois, and Central Illinois. So seeing all those people there, they're all after that trophy, just like we are. They're all after those 7 national spots. Knowing that, we maybe weren't as viewed as being able to win that tournament and coming out on top, that was definitely unexpected. And it was definitely just really cool. And we were like blown away by it.
Yeah. There's probably some days that you probably just look back and be like, man, I can't believe we did that. And it's cool. So yeah. Jack, I'm going to switch it up. Instead of asking you that question, because it's almost like you're probably going to say the same thing, I want to ask, how was Lake Hartwell at Nationals?
Oh yeah, Lake Hartwell, definitely going to be one of the top weeks of my life. We didn't fish all too well, but me and Ethan are really good at just like grinding it out and keep fishing even when it's not going well. It was like 90 degrees out there and it's hot. our first time ever fishing that lake, and the bite was weird. Like we were talking to people that fish there, like locals, and they're like, yeah, something's wrong with Lake Hartwell right now. Even like the offshore bite, it wasn't on, and the shallow bite was weird, and we couldn't figure out anything really. We did get a few bites each day. We weren't able to capitalize on all of them. Ethan was though. But even though we didn't catch that many fish, it was still like a great time on the boat. And we learned so much about fishing down south and all that. So
Yeah. I mean, nationals is such a cool experience. I mean, that's for some, it could be a once in a lifetime opportunity. And you guys were able to go down there and fish. And I followed your like 2 weeks prior to it because you had a boater, and then your boater had problems of like scheduling, and then you guys were just like asking around, and you actually found one, right? So was it a former college kid? Is that who it was?
He's
So-
from England. He's now a college English. Sorry, Jack, but
Okay.
He's at Drury University now.
Okay, all right, yeah. So thanks to that guy. What's his name? We got to give him a shout out.
Yeah. His name's Kobe Thompson.
Kobe, good job,
Yes.
man. All right, we got question number 3. We'll go back to Ethan on this one. So do you have a tournament routine? And if so, what is it? And what started it? What made you kind of get this routine down, if you have one?
I mean, so my tournament routine kind of just starts the night before. And Jack will tell you this. I'm kind of a tackle freak, you know? Like I'm probably notorious for being known as the guy who brings way too much tackle on the boat. Like I will have it all out there, you know. The night before I'll have like 50 rods set up, not 50 exactly, but something like that. And I'll just go through them all.
Stick with 50.
Yeah. I'll just go through them all, and it'll just be all lined up, and I'll have all this stuff lying around, and it's like organized chaos. So that's the night before. Going into it, you know, I kind of chat with Jack a little, you know, any last minute changes we want to make, where we want try to fish first, what we want to fish first, where we want to fish first. And then I usually just do kind of like, you know, it's just a habit for me, like a silent prayer, just for like, you know, a good and safe day, and then good luck on the water.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Too much tackle, I don't think is a problem. If you know what you're doing, right? If it's like your routine and you know what you're doing, like you stick with it. Jack, what's your routine like if you have one, and why is it that you have it that specific way?
yeah, it's similar to Ethan's. I usually get all my tackle, set up my rods usually a day before, and just start figuring out what I want to throw and stuff. Overall, though, I don't really have a routine before a tournament. I kind of just try to get a good night's sleep and then just get prepared mentally in the morning for it. But then usually after tournaments, me and Ethan kind of have a routine where we get Casey's Pizza every time. After every tournament, Casey's Pizza right after.
Oh, yeah.
And that started after our 5th place finish on Shabana, because it was our first like good place, I guess, in a tournament. So we wanted to celebrate a little bit. And ever since then, it's been Casey's Pizza after every tournament.
That's awesome. Hey, Casey's, if you were looking for 2 kids to sponsor, I mean these kids are and in the north, I mean, we don't really have a lot of Casey's, but like they're starting to get some Casey's around our houses. I mean, I know you guys live in Downers. I live in Naperville. I'm starting to see more Casey's around. And I heard Casey's Pizza is a very underrated, really good pizza, right, guys?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
for the price, it's excellent.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's cool. I feel like those little things are so unique. I just want to give a shout out to my old team. We had a same routine. It was either Wendy's or Culver's. Whatever we found, what was the first thing, it was either Wendy's or Culver's. And whether we did really well or didn't do well, it was just we would go there and it would be a blast. You know, that's the kind of the partnership that you guys develop. You know, the sportsmanship between each other, and you know the bond that you create. I mean, you spend 7 hours on a boat together. There's going to be some fighting. If you heard our last guys talking, all they said was all they do is fight, which is awesome. And then there's some other people, and they did well. You know, that was their style. for some people, and they'll have a special bond for that. For you guys, your bond is within the boat, and then now Casey's Pizza, right? So to me, keep it up. That thing is that stuff is super cool. It could be the cheesiest thing, no pun intended, but those things last a lifetime, and you guys remember that when you're 25, 35, 45, because you'll be talking about it for years and be like, hey Jack, you remember that one time when we took Fifth at Shabbat and got Casey's Pizza? Like, that's the stuff that's going to be so cool for you guys. So I'm excited for you on that. I mean, that's such a cool thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, Jack and I spend a lot of time, when we're not tournament fishing, we spend a lot of time just, growing our bond fishing. Obviously, we fish a lot. That's kind of our main thing. But, we spend a lot of time not fishing too, just hanging out. And so we kind of got that bond too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's such a cool thing. I think if that's just how you get better as a partner, even if you go to the river, pond fishing, you spend time together, you know how to talk to each other. You just develop this chemistry. And it's just such a really unique thing when it comes to sports. So 5 more that's questions. Awesome. Hey, that's it. No big deal. I want to go back to this pizza thing because I don't think people realize, from being in the Chicagoland area, pizza's kind of like it's a delicate subject.
Yeah.
And to give props to Casey's gas station pizza is kind of a big thing for us Northerners. Like, I don't think people realize pizza, especially to me, pizza. I grew up in Berwyn, so it's right by the city.
Yeah.
Pizza is, I mean, like, if someone says like, oh yeah, this is good pizza, try this. I'm like, oh, is it really good pizza? And then I try it. I'm like, yeah, this is crap. I mean, I'm sure you guys have the same thing, right? There's so many different pizza places probably by your guys' school and your homes that are so much better than others.
Yeah.
So shout out to Casey's Pizza again. All right, we got to end with the pizza talk. Pizza's so good. Pizza's so good. I love pizza. But don't ever tell me that Little Caesars is better pizza than someone else. Anyway, let's get back to the fishing questions. Ethan, so we're back to you. What's your favorite technique to fish? It doesn't have to be tournament. It doesn't have to be it could be just, what's the favorite technique that you like to fish?
Favorite technique for me. I mean, I just love fishing a swim jig. I don't know what it is about it. It's something I always have tied on. It's something I always want in my hands, a swim jig. Like, I have, I think, 2 or 3 dedicated rods just to swim jig fishing. I've got like 2 or 3 boxes also dedicated to swim jig fishing. I don't know, something about it is it's fun to me. It's really fun, and it's just something I will always have tied on, no matter where I am.
Yeah, I feel the same way when it comes to spinnerbait and like chatterbaits. I love power fishing. I like that wobble feel on your rod and the grass coming through. So swim jig is kind of similar. It's not that much of a ride, but like, I can see why it could be super addicting, because that is a fun way to, especially like when you set the hook on it, because it's not like a power set like a jig. You just kind of get that tug and you're like, oh yeah, baby, here it is. So yeah, swim jig fishing is super fun. So
I've got too many swim jigs.
There's nothing wrong with that. Jack, what about you? What's your favorite fishing technique?
My favorite fishing technique is definitely going to be top water. I don't know, something about adrenaline or something. I just love like walking a spook around docks or a whopper plopper. It's so fun to me. Watching them blow up on it is great.
Yeah, the visual, it's I would say frog fishing too, right?
Yeah. Like
just that it's like you're almost like getting this weird tunnel vision on your bait, and you're like staring and you're like zooming in. You're like, it's gonna happen right there. It's gonna happen. So yeah, top water fishing fishing in general is super awesome. I don't know, when people say, oh, you fish, it's like, dude, fishing is amazing, especially when you fish in a competitive manner. I mean, and if you know what you're doing, it is the adrenaline junkie. I feel like it's a type of adrenaline junkie for sure. So top water, nice. So we got swim jig for Ethan and top water for Jack. That's awesome. 2 awesome techniques. Yeah, so let's move on. Let's get this next one. All right, let's see if I can read my actual writing here. How or what do you reflect on fishing tournaments? So after the end of the day or the ride home, Ethan, how do you reflect with it, whether it's by yourself, your teammate, notebook, whatever it is, how do you reflect on a fishing tournament?
So I'm usually with Jack on the way back from each tournament. We usually just think back. We talk about what we did sometimes. If it goes really well, obviously we're talking about that, how well we did, how well we fished, how well our lure placement was. But if we didn't do well, like for example, Hartwell, we usually think back to what we could have done, why we didn't do it at that moment. And other than that, I use this success and failure to gauge what adjustments I should make for next time.
So Jack, what about you? What is it? How do you reflect? Is it the same thing? Do you internalize it, talk to yourself, or is it just with you and Ethan?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing as Ethan, but I do have some internal stuff. Like I'll think back at it, and if like I missed a fish or like it came off at the boat, like I try not to get caught up in that stuff because I mean the tournament's over by now. It's just what can I do in the next tournament to not have to make the same mistakes. So I kind of me and Ethan talk about it and stuff, and then we also have like this shared notes thing where we log like all our tournaments and what we placed in. So it's cool to look back on and then see, oh, last time we were here, we placed this and this, and we were doing that, and like it helps us the next fish that body of water. So yeah.
For sure. For 2023, the school year, we're halfway through, but this is a brand new year. You guys have yet to fish an ICAST events, but I'm sure you're going to fish some. You have other events that you fish, whether with it's in your school, your conference, IHSA. Ethan, what are your goals for 2023?
So let's just start off with, we're going to be fishing a lot of different tournaments this year. So I recently just got a rig, so we're hoping to put that together and be at a lot more ICAST tournaments. So you'll see a lot of us, hopefully.
That's awesome.
So for 2023, I guess for me, I just hope to have a great season, try to get some more great finishes, maybe go back to back at state, maybe go back to nationals. I mean, I just want to carry the momentum into going into this year.
For sure, yeah, and it definitely helps that you have your new boat, right? That's going to help so much. So good, congratulations to that one. That's kind of like a high school angler's dream is to have one. So that's awesome. Jack, what about you? What are your goals? And I think you're a basketball player, right?
Yeah, I'm a basketball player.
So right now you're in basketball season. So now once basketball season's over, what are your fishing goals for 2023?
Yeah, so once basketball's done, clicks right back into fishing mindset. So my one goal like right now is just make it to state. I've got to qualify. That's the start. And me and Ethan both know it's going to be more challenging this year. Like we already started seeing tournaments are filling up quick. There's more boats. It's going to be harder to qualify. So the main goal right now is just make it to the state tournament, and then we'll go from there. And yeah,
like you said, it's not impossible to qualify. We have a couple bodies of waters where it's not unknown for you guys, so I think it's definitely a possibility if you can kind of manage yourself to get a top 2 in one of those events. I mean, that punches your ticket in right away, and then we'll see what happens at the Clash, and you see if you can kind of carry on the momentum from last year, which was the water. All right, so I got this next question. So the question is, my blank, which is your partner's name, makes me a better angler because. So Ethan, Jack makes you a better angler because.
Well, I really think he makes me a better angler because we have that bond where we work well together. We can easily pick up on each other's fishing styles because our fishing styles aren't exactly the same. We've got these different techniques that we like to fish. We can easily learn from each other, and we're just really cooperative on the water, and it helps us to flow as a team and just learn from each other.
Nice. That's nice. That's a good partnership to have when you can kind of feed off each other, for sure. All right, Jack. Ethan makes me a better angler because.
Yeah, Ethan definitely makes me a better angler because of all like the knowledge he knows. He started a little bit before me with the whole tournament and competition stuff. So he's got a little more experience, but then also he knows so much about different techniques and different stuff he's always telling me about. Like when we go into the different body of water, I've never fished before, and he'll be like, "Oh, throw this and that, and you'll catch fish." And he knows a lot, and it's a really good partner to have.
Yeah. Ethan, I'm going to give you some kudos to you. I think you are probably one of the most positive kids I have met in the bass fishing world. There's a lot of positive kids, but like you are uber positive and super like smiley all the time. And I think that is a great attribute to have, because there's so many people, in whether it's teenagers, adults, that could kind of dwell on the negativity during events, and they feel like, oh, we only caught 2, I can't believe we didn't take top 6 or top 10. You kind of look at it as, you had a blast, you had a good time, you're going to get better, you learned. So I definitely appreciate seeing you out there. I remember the first tournament I saw you out there, you had your little chest camera at Heideke, and I think you only caught 2 fish that day, but you're like grinning ear to ear, weighing in, taking your pictures. So to me, like, you don't even realize that, but you've made an impression on me on that day, and I didn't even know who you were. So keep that mentality up. I think that's just such a great trait to have, and I think more kids need to be like that. So Ethan, just keep up like that, because I think that'll take you far in life, dude.
I mean, I appreciate it. It was just something I was taught when I was young. I was always taught to have that mindset, never to dwell in the past. And
Good.
Awesome.
That's awesome. All right, last question. All right, single greatest fishing tournament memory story. So not just the outcome. What is the story?
So I guess one would be probably the greatest one for us would just be the whole week of nationals. I mean, from the moment we got there, when we met our boater, when me and Jack, got on that body of water, we started practicing. We kind of just clicked, and we all had so much fun. Obviously we didn't fish that well, and we didn't end up doing the greatest like we had hoped we would. But I mean, we cracked so many jokes, we made so many memories, met so many people that we still talk to now, and it was just a great experience to learn from each other, get to know people who fish all around the country, and share our passion. And I mean, to me, it was the greatest fishing tournament memory because I don't know, it was just like the biggest stage we've ever stepped on, and it was kind of just life-changing for us.
I'm happy that you guys had that opportunity. It's such a fun experience. All right, so Jack, what is your single greatest fishing tournament memory? I have a feeling it's probably the same week.
That was a great week, but it's not. It's actually a different one. It was last year. Me and Ethan were out on the Des Plaines River, and we were, like you said, grinding all day, trying to get some bites. We had, I think, 4 or 5 fish in the live well, but they're tiny 12-inch river fish, so we couldn't get much going. And we're down to like the last 20, 25 minutes. We're making our way kind of back towards Wayne, and we hit up this one rock bank, and I'm throwing this little chartreuse square bill along these rocks, and I thought I just ran into something. Like my bait just stopped, and then my line just started running, and ended up being a great fight, and it was like a 4.5 pound largemouth, which then ended up helping us get 3rd place in that tournament. It was an IBN tournament too, so we got with it, and that was the first time like we actually got like a check that we could cash in. So that was probably my favorite memory.
Nice. Yeah. The Des Plaines River is it's a tough body of water, and like you were saying, like you got your 12-inch river fish, and that's kind of like what most kids will bring in when they fish that body of water. And then you have a couple of kids that will bring in those 2.5, 3.5 pounders. So to catch a 4-pounder, that's impressive, and which is great. And then I'm sure you guys can share super sad stories, but we won't get to that because there's so many of those that we all go through as tournament anglers, where you're like, I had this 4-pounder, and I swear it was 4.5, and it just snapped off. But yeah, I want to say thank you so much for coming on this show. I definitely appreciate it. I think this team is a young team. I know Ethan's still a junior, Jack's a sophomore. They still got 2 good years left together. And now that Ethan has his boat, even if they don't fish that much this season, I think going into the following season, they're going to be fishing probably as many events as they possibly can. And I think they're a team definitely to be looking out for, because they proved not only just at the Clash, but like with other stuff that they do. And again, thank you so much for popping in. I appreciate it. And that's a wrap for this episode. Next week, we'll have a totally different dynamic duo, and we'll get into their questions and their minds. So until next time, we'll see you later. Okay. Thank you so much.